Guys, Rob and Georgia here with you with what I'm just going to call an addendum to this whole 10 segment top 100. Just a few things right off, man. Let's just get the honorees out of the way. I don't know, man. It's only 100 movies. You know how hard it is to make a top 100? But there's a few films that just did come to my mind real quick. I'm going to fly through them, man. It's what you see up there. Close Encounters of the Third Kind. I know it's not really horror, but there are some elements in here that could go a long way in showing just how capable Spielberg is. The little boy's abduction. Dude, I still got the original novella to this. The original novel from when I was a kid. Going back to like third grade or whatever. I've never owned this movie before until 4K. The original poster work. This movie, man, worked hard at leaving an imaginative, indelible mark on my mindset, man. It's one of my favorite movies. I love Close Encounters of the Third Kind. But to be on a top 100 horror, I struggled with that one. From 41, The Wolfman. I don't have any movies from the 1940s. How is that even possible? And this is one, and so I'm sorry. The remake to The Blob, one of the great special effects feasts of its day, man. This is so much fun. It's just The Blob, man. Maybe one of the great sequels of all history. I don't know. It is enjoyable, man. Done really well. It's a sound film, man. Psycho 2. Such a great movie. And a superb follow-up. The Terminator. Some argue this is slasher-esque. I saw it in the theater as a kid. I revisit it every so often. So good. So good. I don't have its solo release, but Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3 in particular, I do have a fond place in my heart for that sequel. And again, when you're building up your collection, getting these franchises on the cheap at Walmart is the way to go. All right, anyways, honorables. 5 greatest films of all time. They're up here, man. They're up here. Ridley's Alien. You want to try to go in an order? That's fine. Star Trek to The Wrath of Khan. I consider this one of the greatest science fiction films of all time. It is my favorite Star Trek film. And not that, I think it's just an awesome movie. The Empire Strikes Back will always be. I saw this when I was 10 in the theater as a kid. My dad and his buddy went across the way to see the Blues Brothers. I got the better end of the deal, I think. I saw one of the greatest opera pieces, tragedy, however you want to phrase it, word it, work it. The Empire Strikes Back is the Star Wars film most near dear to my heart. I love that movie just by itself. If I only owned one Star Wars movie as a 4K, it would be The Empire Strikes Back. I don't know. Alien, Ridley Scott's original 1979 masterpiece, absolutely dig. And I got the theatrical posters all up over my walls for these 5 in particular. John Carpenter's The Thing, and of course Spielberg's Jaws. They interchange every so often depending on my mood. But really, those are the top 5 all times. Couple, just some statistical stuff. I always play with this stuff. I had 3 films in my top 100, 3 from the 30s, none from the 40s, go figure, 2 from the 50s, 6 from the 60s, 22 from the 70s, and go, big surprise, 47 from the 80s. The 90s only had 5 mentions. In the 2000s, 15. So somewhere, I think part of the problem with the 90s, I was in the Army from 90 to 94, and that whole decade I got married, so much in my life. It's no wonder that decade. So it's not because I think the movies are inferior. I think it's just because of life. I missed that decade, man. But the 2000s I picked back up again, as evident in my top 100, right? So that's just some interesting statistical stuff. 10 directors. I don't know if I have a specific order for this at all. I'm just going to run through them right now. And maybe the first 5 are, I don't know. But John Carpenter, man, top of the heap. In terms, so many of his films influenced me as a kid growing up. It was so much fun growing up with John Carpenter. Escape from New York, all that stuff, man. Dario Argento, my first visual feast experience of Suspira on my 25-inch console TV, compliments of the video store on VHS. Fulci, man, bringing some of his stuff home for the first time, it just blew my world away. Wes Craven, seeing, following him in Fangoria, seeing A Nightmare on Elm Street. First time I saw Last House, man, I was too young for that. And I was way too young for I'll spit on your grave. We're gonna spit on your garage. Get that? Yeah. Rob Zombie. That's a late bloomer in my life. Whether it's House, the Firefly trilogy. I just dig him as a filmmaker, man. He is constant artist, man, musician, film director. His story going back to the Universal backlot with House, his return to Universal via the Munsters. He is one of those go-tos when I want to pop in a commentary just to hear someone talk. I love listening to Rob Zombie talk, man, especially when he gets some of his rants on H2 are just great, man. Yeah, and the Halloween remake, right? And H2, I dig H2. A lot of people hate it, but I don't really care. So he's on the list. George A. Romero, man. How is he not an influence in my life growing up, man? Mario Bava, late bloomer in my life, but worthy to be that important of a director to be on my 10 list. Black Sunday there's nothing like it, man. Toby Hooper, man. I probably enjoyed Texas Chainsaw 2 more than the Texas Chainsaw in 74, but that first film is unparalleled in its terror, its social commentary, just all the angst that had welled up inside of him that he unleashed on the screen. But Part 2 is just fun, man. I just really love that movie, man. And Tom Savini had fun on that one, man, with the gore effects. James Whale, late bloomer in my life. I've rediscovered his films, started to understand who he was as a filmmaker. The Old Dark House, Invisible Man, some of Bride of Frankenstein, some of my favorites, man. And Steven Spielberg, how can he not be on your list, man? When you're a kid, when you're born in 1970 and you hit 80 as a 10-year-old, how is Spielberg, the Indiana Jones movies, man, Raiders, Temple, and the Crusade, man, how does he not leave an indelible mark on your life, man? Yeah, it's too bad E.T. came out in the same year, the thing, but what are you gonna do, right? So those are 10 directors, and I would say I had another stat here, and I'm trying to figure out why it is that I wrote what I wrote. I mean, when you consider the decade of the 70s, I mean, I'm only 10, moving on, or I'm sorry, I'm only, born in 70, moving on up into 10. So that will become an influence on my life. But between 80 and 90, I go from 10 to 20. And then, like I said, all that life intervened in my, when it did, the 90s sort of just kind of go by. And then the 2000s. I don't know what else I can mention. Honorables, my 5 greatest films, 10 very influential directors in my life. Bottom line is, I love film. I love collecting. I wish I could do more with it. Space is always an issue, right? This is kind of like a little cave of mine down here, this little nook, right? And Body Bags is fun too, man. And the posters, things I've been able to collect, you can't see it, but A Nightmare on Elm Street's right over there. That's a beautiful poster. I love film, man. I love cinema, man. I always have. And now I just take it probably that much more serious, man. So one last time, I just want to say thank you for those who invested the time. I know some of the segments were longer than I really anticipated or maybe even wanted them to be. But I too appreciate those willing to take the time and watch. And perhaps you just did other things, man, when you had it on. And that's fine too. I do that a lot. Unless there's something I really need to see. But I appreciate the subs. The new subs I've recently got. I gotta somehow get back on my shop by shelf for the DVDs. I've got Space 1999 going. I've got a new project that is on the back burner. All I'm going to say is Italian cinema from 1979 to 1994. If that's something for you to get excited about, then I'm working on it, man. I'm working on it. Body Bags always, Wednesday reviewer, been there. Jeez, I'm getting close to 200 reviews on that stinking thing. What else, man? I don't know what else I can say. I got a trip to Fulci's cemetery down there below, down in the archive somewhere. My trip to Evans City. Of course, the cemetery. There's other vids going all the way back to when I was doing stuff specifically as a love to the 22 Shots of Moodz and Horror podcast. That is really why I started to get involved in this anyways. So I always need to throw that out as a shout out. Both Moodz and JP and Jeremy. Yeah, and that one time I got to be on their show, so awesome. Remake against original of the Crazies, so much fun, so much stinking fun. So anyways, it is what it is, man. It is what it is. I hope you enjoyed it all. Again, once the shelf by shelves come to an end, the only things I think I'll probably really with consistency will be my Space 1999 and the new thing I got on the back burner. If you love Italian cinema, man, and you love it between 1979 and 1994, it may intrigue you. I'm just sort of still working things out because once I start this particular thing, I don't want it to fall by the wayside. I've let some other things that I thought would be good. They fell by the wayside. I don't want this to fall by the wayside. This is important to me. Space 1999 is important to me. I want to follow through and do every single episode. So anyways, thank you. I really do appreciate it. And with everything that is inside of me, man, like Fulci said, man, film is so much. I eat film, man. I love it. And I appreciate your support. Go Dogs, man. About to hit another great season and defend that championship. And of course, my Bills. Can you believe it? My Buffalo Bills are being picked by just about everyone to win it all. I will cry if that happens. As always, we end these things off with Go Bills.
This is not a dream. Not